Presidential Records Act, the Presidential Records Act, and the Clinton Sox case. All they have to do is read it, and they see totally innocent. But, the people get that, and they looked at it very strongly, and my numbers are through the roof. We're beating everybody by a lot, and we're beating Biden by a lot. And one of the reasons, it was interesting, somebody wrote a very strong piece the other day. I could tell you who, but let's not even use his name because perhaps you wouldn't want it. But wrote a very strong piece that they're afraid to have me back in. That's why they're doing the indictment stuff, because they don't want to be indicted. Now, I would do it only very fairly, of course, but they don't want to be indicted. So they say, we can't let this guy win. But there was tremendous corruption on the other side. Don't forget, they spied on my campaign, and we caught him.
Trump acknowledges that if he is elected again, he will seek to indict his political opponents, and we caught them. But don't worry, if there's one thing Trump is known for, it's his dedication to equality. So he would do it just very fairly, of course. The use of the law, the same law that he broke and doesn't believe he should be held highly accountable for right now. Yep, that guy, I mean, honestly, if only this guy was capable of shame, the audacity of someone like Donald Trump, who is currently dealing with 2 indictments and 71 charges to lecture anyone else about accountability. Now, of course, the reason is obvious. This isn't about accountability at all. It is solely about retribution. He knows that he has no defense here, so his only option is to take revenge. Congressman Jared Moskowitz and I spoke in an interview that will air shortly on this channel. But here is a sneak peek of him making a reference to that particular issue about what Trump does when he realizes he has been caught.
They're doing all of this Hunter stuff and all this Biden stuff as a distraction. It's all about distracting. It's all about deflecting. Donald Trump showed them how to do that. Any attack on Donald, the one thing he's very good at is if he knows he has a weakness, he immediately takes that weakness and puts it on his opponent. So look, he's in trouble, right? Bill Barr says he's toast. Chris Christie says he's in trouble. These are 2 former prosecutors. Both have worked for Donald Trump at different points, right? Chris Christie being on the transition team, Bill Barr being the actual attorney general. Okay. And so they know their guy's in trouble. So what do? How do we take the most boring family in America and turn them into the Gambino crime family? Oh, I know. We'll just start talking about stuff, the 1023 form that was filled out 4 years ago based on information that's 7 years old. That is double hearsay from 2 people saying a conversation that was completely in Russian. We'll say there's 17 tapes. Where are the tapes? Nobody knows. We'll say we have informants. Oh, produce the informants. We lost them. Hey, we got this laptop. We got this laptop with all this information. Great. Show the American people the information on the laptop. Oh, well, we can't show them that.
Let's be genuine here in case Trump was truly planning to begin arraigning individuals exceptionally reasonably, of course, one thing that's lost when it comes to everybody else, and this may be a minor detail, could be a wrongdoing fellows out here claim that he's intending to begin arraigning individuals, but for what no one else really did anything, and certainly not on the law-based sides. So unless he's talking around supporting the, as it were, other open prosecution against George Santos at that point, it may be a small extreme to prosecute somebody without a wrongdoing to prosecute them for, and one thing I do not question in spite of the fact that is that in case he were to win, he certainly wouldn't attempt, and he would fill his positions with pass on difficult Trump attendants who would unapologetically do his offering. So indeed, in spite of the fact that a president can't arraign anybody, he would in reality drag the strings on those who could arraign somebody, so in case he required another reason not to remain at domestic in 2024, or why Biden's age doesn't hold a candle to Trump's servile debasement. This is often it. He is promising that in the event that he gets to be president, he will utilize the levers of government to correct exact retribution, not responsibility, but vindicate against his political opponents. So in the event that Jim Jordan is trying to find a topic for his following little weaponization of government committee, he might need to begin with the fellow actually promising to weaponize government presently. A couple of notes on Trump's other comments. He claims that he picked up bolster after being prosecuted. You will be stunned to memorize that that's a lie, concurring to an unused CNN survey. From this week, 47% of Republican enrolled voters say Trump is there to begin with choice for the party's designation for president, down from 53 in a May survey, and Trump's favorability rating among Republican-line voters has plunged from 77 in May to 67 presently, whereas the share who say they would not bolster him for the designation beneath any circumstances has climbed from 16 in May to 23% presently. No doubt turns out voters do not see getting hit with over 70 substantial charges as indiscretionary quality who might have conceivably speculated and at last Trump claims that essentially perusing the Presidential Records Act would demonstrate his blamelessness. But here's the thing: what that act did build up is that presidential records have a place to the U.S. government, not the president actually, and must be protected. The law truly demonstrates Trump's blame, not his blamelessness. But of course Trump is fair depending on tossing out the title of a few little-known enactment in trusts that it'll sound more official and buttress his contention. But since he's nitwit, he doesn't realize that he is really fair conjuring the law that he broke. I specified he's in moron right. And by the way, do not take it from me if you need assist confirmation that Trump's seen white House archives as his possessed individual. Mementos, here's his possessed previous lawyer. Common charge bearer.
He continues to claim that he has all these privileges and rights under the Presidential Records Act. Is he mischaracterizing the act?
Absolutely. The legal theory by which he gets to take battle plans and sensitive national security information as his personal papers is absurd. It's just as wacky as the legal doctrine they came up with for, having the vice president unilaterally determine who won the election. The whole purpose of the statute, the Presidential Records Act, was to stop presidents from taking official documents out of the White House. It was passed after Watergate. That's the whole purpose of it. And therefore, it restricted what a president can take. It says it's purely private, that had nothing to do with the deliberations of government policy. Obviously, these documents are not purely private. It's obvious. And they're not even now arguing that it's purely private. What they're saying is the president just has sweeping discretion to say they are, even though they squarely don't fall within the definition. It's an absurd argument.
The reality is that Trump was arraigned accurately since he thought that government records that did not have a place to him and were classified were by one means or another his claim individual property, in spite of the reality that the National Chronicles and law requirement let him know on a tenacious premise over the course of more than a year that it wasn't they asked those reports be returned. He denied they subpoenaed them. He opposed it. He issued an authentication from his attorneys, erroneously attesting that they'd been returned when they hadn't, and eventually a government judge issued a look warrant, which was executed by the FBI and turned up precisely what he imagined he'd given back. So in the event that you're seeking out for the individual who is willfully overlooking the Presidential Records Act, I think we found the guy considered too. Whereas we're on the subject of damaging the Presidential Records Act, let's not imagine that Trump didn't know precisely what he was doing, since, whereas he kept up a cheese as his defense that he declassified everything and had carte blanche to do what he needed with the reports, agreeing to the real arraignment site in July 2021 at Trump National Golf Club in Benson Modern Shirt, amid in sound-recorded assembly with an author, a distributor, and two individuals of his staff, none of whom had a security clearance. Trump appeared and depicted a range of assault that Trump said was arranged for him by the Division of Defense and a senior military official. Trump, too, told the people that the arrange was cite profoundly private and mystery. Trump, too, said cite as president, I may have declassified it, and presently I can't, but this is often still a mystery, since for the umpteenth time the greatest risk to Donald Trump's defense is Donald Trump. All Trump is appearing us here is that not, as it were, is there no regret for so blatantly breaking the law. He's really promising, vowing to commit more violations in the event that he wins the administration. He will utilize his position exclusively to correct exact retribution on his political rivals, subsequently committing the same acts that he's imagining he's so solidly against. Here, he'll offer up all these grievances and complaints, but at the conclusion of the day, his as it were issue wasn't that he was wrongfully charged of anything. It is essentially that he got caught. Music. Before you go, I require a few offer assistance. If you don't mind, subscribe to the channel and do your portion to assist to develop the dynamic media.